Welcome to the Filmed Live Musicals podcast, a podcast about stage musicals that have been legally filmed and publicly distributed. The Filmed Live Musicals website contains information on nearly 200 musicals that have been captured live. Check it out at filmedlivemusicals.com. And now, on with the show. Welcome to the Filmed Live Musicals podcast. I'm your host, Luisa Lyons, and my guests today are Freya Catrin Smith and Jack Williams, who were on the podcast back in November 2021 after the workshop production of their new musical, Ride, was released on Stream Theatre. If you haven't already, take a listen to episode 31 to learn more about how Jack and Freya became musical theatre writers, and their earlier musical about Sophie Germain, The Limit, which was filmed live at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. Ride, a new musical, received its official world premiere at the Charing Cross Theatre in London in August 2022. It was filmed live in September and is now available to stream via Broadway On Demand. Welcome back to the podcast, Freya and Jack.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Louisa.
Hello. Thanks for having us, Louisa.
Of course, my pleasure. So we heard a bit about your story in the first interview, but can you give us a recap of what Ride is about?
Yeah. So Ride is all about kind of the story of a real woman called Annie Londonderry, who in 1894 decided to try and become the first woman to cycle around the world. That's it in a nutshell.
Fabulous story. I love Annie's story so much. She's so much fun. So the musical itself has gone on an amazing journey from the Ceiling Project in 2019 to the Vault Festival in 2020, a workshop production at the Garrick in 2021, and now a fully fledged production at the Charing Cross Theatre. What has this journey been like for you?
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. And I think from a writing perspective, it's been really fascinating as well, because it started off as this seed of an idea about one woman, and it started off as a one-woman show. And then we built in that additional character of Martha as a foil to Annie. And just to see it grow and grow. And I suppose, Jack, could probably agree that like when we started out at Vault Festival, we were sort of wearing a million hats and we were doing all of the roles necessary to get a show on. And it's been like a real privilege to kind of be able to sit back and have pros come in and do those jobs for us, and we can just focus on the writing. And yeah, I think one of the highlights is probably having such a fantastic orchestrator, Macy Schmidt, come onto the show and really sort of elevate the music and, make it sound really, really beautiful and full. What do you think, Jack?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's been such a privilege to work with such a brilliant creative team on it. And like Freya said, not to have so many jobs that we're doing ourselves, like on the Vault production, which was very much done on a wing and a prayer. I think last time we spoke, we had the production, we had the orchestrations done by Macy and the Broadway Symphony for the original workshop productions, but it's also been brilliant to be able to kind of work on those a bit more, and particularly from an album recording perspective, to have those kind of mesh together with the live instrumentation and really mix to show off the orchestrations as much as possible and make them sound lovely. So that's been a really wonderful part of that process as well, recording the album side by side with rehearsing the musical.
Knowing what it's like to self-produce and like the printing of scripts and paying people and all the logistics that go behind putting on a show, that it is so much work, and I can imagine the relief of passing that on to other people.
Yeah.
Did the capture of the Garrick, the workshop production, did that influence the next iteration, the next stage of writing in any way?
Yeah, I think definitely, because it's just being able to have that kind of artifact and like refer to it, and something that we generally do now, like just as a kind of pattern in the way we work, is to rewatch any previous stream and comment and edit. And we often have sort of meetings with our producers and some of the other creatives, and we watch through and stop and comment and think about what we might do differently or what landed and what didn't land. It's just such a valuable resource to be able to go back time and time again and really just sort of, because I think in the moment, I think for me anyway, like when watching it live, you kind of pick up on certain things and you might be focusing on specific things and you miss other things. And so, yeah, it's really useful to be able to go back and sort of look for different perspectives and maybe focus on the things you wouldn't automatically look at on a second or third viewing.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Jack?
No, I definitely
sitting
agree.
there quietly.
I think I think it's been really useful to be able to see the show and see it from multiple camera angles as well, and seeing certain moments in close up, seeing stuff from further away from the audience perspective, and it really makes you appreciate the skills of a skilled video editor in terms of putting those moments together as well, and really drawing attention to the right shots. I guess for you, Freya, particularly for this iteration of it, it was also really useful for you to have more of an opportunity to see the show, because you came to the press night performance and the one after, but after that was the last version of the show you saw, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, that's true, because it was a terrible clash. I was on my honeymoon for most of the run. So I was in East Africa. So yeah, it was especially viable to be able to have a recording of the show, seeing as I couldn't see it very often. But yeah, no, I think I saw it maybe like 2 or 3 times during the run, which was, it was brilliant. But yeah, to have that and to be able to revisit, and yeah, definitely very, very useful.
Oh, that's amazing. Did you visit any of the places that Annie would have visited?
I don't know if she made it to Africa. No, she did make it to Africa, Jack?
I think
she went to Egypt.
She went to Egypt. Yeah.
She didn't. So I don't think she made it to anywhere we went. But we did have an amazing day in Kenya, where we were at this sort of national park, and you hire bikes and you can cycle among the wildlife. So we were cycling around with like zebras and giraffes, and I definitely felt like Annie at that point.
Oh, that is super cool. My heart started racing as you were sharing that. The idea of being out in the wilderness on a bike, surrounded by those kind of animals.
I know they don't have too many predators, but they do have. Oh my gosh, they do have buffalo, and that's a little dangerous. But generally, they have quite gentle animals in that park.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So, what has been you mentioned like rewatching the show and working with the producers, but what has been the process since that first workshop, since the Garrick workshop through to the full production?
So yeah, I'm trying to remember the timeline. Feels both very recent, but absolutely ages ago. The Garrick production. So I'd say it was probably mainly quiet for us for the rest of 2021. Would you say, Freya? While we were working on a few other projects like the Chamber Musical Sessions Commission, which we mentioned last time as well. So I'd say things kicked off again at the start of 2022, where we had a look at the material. I'd say more changes were probably made to the script between the Vault production and the Garrick production than the Garrick production and the Charing Cross production. I think we were reasonably happy with the kind of shape of it, the structure of it, and we didn't add any new songs in between the Garrick version and the Charing Cross version. So I'd say we went through auditions for Annie, Martha, and alternate Annie in probably early to mid 2022, and then it was a really quick process actually then getting that into rehearsals. So we had about three weeks of rehearsals for that down in South London, and on stage at the start of the end of August, start of September. So I think it was a bit of a whirlwind process, because the slot had become available in the theatre at, I wouldn't say last minute, but like shortish notice. So it was a bit of a whistle stop tour getting everything into gear for that.
I think the producers were quite keen for sort of to have a new feel and kind of a new look, and so we sort of had a whole new creative team come on board as well. And I think because I was kind of out of action based on the dates, because previously I've like directed it or co-directed it, so in this case I was out. So they wanted a new director and a new overall feel, I think, and a new aesthetic, and it's really exciting to work with those new creatives as well.
How soon before like auditions and that kind of thing and booking the Charing Cross did Sarah Meadows come on board, and like the scenic designer Amy Jane Cook?
It was all quite quick. I don't know exactly when. Do you remember, Jack? You're better with dates than I am. But it felt like it was a quick turnaround.
It was. I'm very quickly looking through my my email history to see if I can get any specific dates attached.
We spoke to quite a few female directors, and we just had a really great chat with Sarah. And the themes that she kind of spoke about after reading the script really resonated with us. And we felt that she really understood what we were trying to do with the show. And it was just one of those really nice moments where you really connect with somebody and have a great chat.
It reminds me, I forget which iteration it was, but there was a point early on where you had a deadline to write content. It was like, well, this now or never.
We're like deadline fiends. We're terrible without a deadline, but not too shabby if we've got one.
I think that's why Ride has been nice in a way. I think you touched on this point earlier, Freya, but the fact that it has had so many iterations, so the 20-minute version and then the 1 hour version and then the 90-minute version, it's meant that it's always felt like not a Herculean task to actually get it all together. It's kind of tweaking a previous iteration and saying, what was this missing? What does it need? As opposed to facing the panic of a white sheet of paper, essentially.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it'll be different with future things as well, but I've also felt, compared to like our previous work, for me, Ride has always felt easier to write. I don't know what, I just feel more connected to the material than some of the other stuff that we've done. So it never felt, I think because I love the character so much, and we do have quite a lot of freedom with the way we tell the story based on how little is known, really. I think because of those two things, it's always felt kind of just quite fun. Whereas with some other stuff, it can feel like you're banging your head against a wall.
It's also the fact that the production we did before Ride was the limit, where we had to get kind of a rudimentary understanding of quite complicated maths.
That's true.
So it felt like a bit of both reading the history, but then learning all the maths felt like homework a little bit to get up to speed, where, as Freya said, the whole arc of Annie's story means you have a lot more creative license with it, because she made so many things up herself.
Yeah, and I'm also definitely better at cycling than I am at maths. So.
I know this is going to sound super cheesy, but I feel I have to say it. It's as easy as riding a bike, right?
Exactly.
When you were having the kind of earlier meetings with the new production team, what were your goals? What did you have in mind for the production?
I think it was really just to kind of elevate the material and sort of make something. I don't think because it's its first proper production that was going to go on for a few weeks and really sort of have its own look and its own feel. I think we just wanted to make sure that everybody felt kind of on the same page when it came to the vision, and just really sort of bring something together that felt cohesive. But I mean, we were very lucky in the sense that, so like our set and costume designer, Amy Jane Cook, I mean, I feel like we didn't really speak to her at all. And she just, I mean, I'm sure she had conversations with Sarah and other people, but she kind of just showed up with these perfect model boxes. And we were like, yeah, that's just exactly what we wanted. And, the set you'll have seen from the stream, but I really love the set and the kind of surprises that come from it, and how we were also very lucky with the space, because the way that Charing Cross works is usually there's a slightly different audience sort of setup, and you can have more seats, but our producers decided to sort of take out the seats in order for us to sort of firstly have that more intimate experience, but also to be able to kind of expand the stage in that really surprising way that you get, well, spoiler, but that happens sort of halfway through the show. And yeah, it was really, we'd never been able to do anything like that with previous versions. It had been very much like we're taking the audience along with us on a journey where they're going to need to use their imaginations a lot. Whereas to kind of really bring that to life by actually messing with the set and the design, and having somebody come in and sort of show us how that's possible. Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Definitely, yeah. I think the set in particular really helped to elevate it. And as Freya said, I think the script itself hopefully has a lot of surprises within it, based on the initial situation that we set up. So it's so nice to have the set and scene design be able to match that with surprises of its own, I think, and to end up in a completely different space to where you might imagine when going in.
And I love that it retained that sort of playfulness that, like a t-shirt, the, what is the word for it? The blouse becomes a baby, and that, like, using what they have in the office to create the world that she's traveling in. I was just really fun and delightful.
Yeah, I think that's really important as well, because it's like, I think, the script does do kind of a lot of the heavy lifting. So you kind of need that balance between we want the set to really bring it to life and to really sort of showcase the material, but it doesn't actually need to go, too far. We don't need to throw everything at it, because so much of it comes from that quite basic setting of the office. And I think that Amy Jane Cook really got the balance spot on with that.
Definitely.
Totally agree.
I think I can't quite remember the term for it, but it's something like creativity by limitation, essentially. So you want to limit the amount of options available to you, like the fact they are only in this office and can't do anything outside that office and can only use the things within it, and therefore that spurs more kind of creativity in terms of viewing things in different ways, I think. Whereas sometimes if you have every option available to you, it's less satisfying, kind of bringing in outside sources.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference with theatre as well. Audiences, I certainly feel as an audience member, I like to do a bit of the work myself. I don't want to be served everything like you would be in a film. Like, it's just not possible in a theatre. But, to have to sort of make some of those leaps yourself is fun, and it's just part of being in that space and being part of an experience on stage.
Yeah, like elevates that sense of play, like
Yeah.
the play and the playing is, it is so fun as an audience member to see those the everyday become heightened and into kind of that magical realism almost.
Exactly.
You mentioned auditions just before. What was the audition process like?
It was hard because the part it's like, I think it was maybe Gemma from the workshop production who said, like, you were like, Freya, you really succeeded in writing like a complex female character, but like you maybe went too far. It's too hard. It's a really difficult part to play, and it's not just the fact that she's on stage for almost the whole thing without any kind of break. It's also like the vocal is really difficult.
Belting for 90% of the show.
I can't sing those songs. But I mean, the beauty of it is when you find someone like Liv who kind of makes it all look effortless. It's just such a joy, and we're so lucky to have her, and and Amy as well as alternate, like just like very different performances, but both just stunning. And I mean, it was not an easy process casting, because it's just, the part just asks so much of a person. And like the part of Martha is also difficult to kind of, Yuki really found kind of the comedy, but also the heart and the complexity. And I think she really brought depth to the character of Martha. And also you have to be able to play Fred, which is hard. I think both of the roles are really quite tricky. I mean, it's the kind of the two sort of pronged thing of like really kind of difficult casting process. But when you find the right people, it's really incredible, and you're just like, oh my gosh, yes, and it's very exciting.
Definitely.
And both, how do I pronounce Liv's last name? Andrusier?
Andrusier, yeah.
Yeah. And Yuki Sutton, both were fresh out of drama school, right?
Yeah, they're young and amazing, and extremely hardworking, and just a pleasure. And I'm so so thrilled for both of them that they got the Offie Awards, because they really deserved them. And
definitely.
yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off just before, Jack. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, with some roles, I think you think, do we you're able in a way to say this is a role that needs to prioritize singing or needs to prioritize acting, but with Bride, I think it's kind of neither were negotiable at all. I think you just need to have those powerhouses. So glad that we found the cast that we did for it. And like Freya said, it I think Yuki, Amy, and Liv's voices all worked so well together, and it was brilliant to be able to see different combinations on stage, and it really felt like a different show each night depending on who you're seeing.
Where's my second stream, please, so I can see the alternate cast.
Yeah, we should get that up.
Yeah, is there a recording of it?
I think there is somewhere. Yeah, I mean, that would be great.
It's something I'm really fascinated watching, captures out of Japan and Korea. It's just standard to release 2 films with the 2 casts. So I'm like, bring that here,
so
please.
Cool. Yeah, because I mean, it really does transform a show, and it's just, you can have the same kind of direction, but people will always be different, and they'll always bring different things and experiences and styles, and it is amazing to compare and to see different people do the roles.
What did they have to audition with? Did you send them sides from the show and songs from the show?
Yes, I mean, I don't think I ever need to hear the song Ride again, to be honest. I'm done with that song. But it's a really good testing. We always make people do the chorus of Ride, maybe a verse and a chorus of Ride, the song, because you've got to be able to absolutely nail that note in the chorus. And it's horrible and hard, and I can't do it at all. So always that. And then I think we asked, we had some sides, and we sort of, we had some interaction between Martha's and Annie's, and we also had some like solo moments for each of them. And did we do any other musical moments from the show, Jack? We asked people to bring their own verse and chorus of probably, what did we say? We probably said a belty number. Maybe we said contrasting.
An emotional acting driven number, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was mainly Ride in terms of numbers from the show, but then we made sure that we had some for Martha and Annie interaction. We got a good mix of the different characters that Martha plays as well.
Oh yeah. So we, all our Marthas had to have a go at Fred as well. Yeah.
So, like you said, so challenging and very demanding, because both roles are on stage they're both on stage for most of the show, and there's not much chance for a break.
The chemistry is really important, and also like comic timing. So that's something we're always looking out for in the audition as well, like if they're making us laugh. But yeah, I mean, I love sitting through auditions, but you do sort of you do get the same songs. I mean, by the end of it, I was like, I don't need to hear Astonishing, and I don't need to hear Watch What Happens for a long time. Even though I love both of those songs.
Run down the list of mezzo-soprano belt roles.
I'm like, we kind of brought this on ourselves with what we asked for, so...
Oh, that's funny. You mentioned Macy Schmidt earlier. Were the orchestrations for this production the same ones that you had used at the Garrick?
I think they were largely the same, but I think did she do some edits and make some changes, Jack?
Yeah, we had some tweaks and edits, but they are primarily the same. They're not too different. Sorry, go on.
No, we're probably going to say the same thing. You go.
I was going to say for the album version, we got new orchestrations for the song "Charmed Existence" of Fred Rose, which I'm really looking forward to. So that, and that's different from the show as well. So we've got fuller orchestrations for that song, which I'm looking forward to for people to hear. Was that what you were going to say, Freya?
Actually, it wasn't.
Oh,
we're not as connected as we used to be, Jack, clearly. No, I was just going to say that our MD, Sam, also added some really gorgeous piano parts to some of the songs as well.
Speaking of recordings, when is the cast recording coming out?
Imminently, like very soon. It's almost ready. So, yeah, I mean, we're hoping in the next couple of weeks. So that's super exciting. We just, because we've got new orchestrations for this one song, we're just waiting on those and that mastering, but everything else is done. So, it'll be out really soon on Spotify and everywhere else you listen to your music, or whatever they say on on podcasts and things. But yeah, so that's super exciting. We've been listening to it a lot. We've been going back and forth with the producer, and it's been a brilliant experience, and I'm so thrilled with how it sounds. I think it sounds incredible.
Definitely. And like what Freya said earlier, Sam's stuff was a brilliant addition to it, and most of the piano parts on the album are all new and added by Sam, our fantastic MD as well. So I think the energy that they brought to some of the songs, like Everybody Loves a Lie, is really exciting.
Yeah, no, I can't wait for you to hear it.
Oh, me too. I'll be like refreshing Spotify.
Yeah, you need to just have it on loop, because we want to get the plays up. So just leave it on overnight or something.
Absolutely no problem. I mean, I will be listening to it on repeat, so I cannot wait. With filming the Charing Cross production, so you worked with Deus Ex Machina Productions with Raman Sabi.
Yes.
And he also produced Gypsy Live from the Savoy with Imelda Staunton. So was his vision to record it, or with your experiences at the Garrick, what was the process in like thinking about filming?
I mean, I don't really know what was going on in his head, or Emily's the other producer as well, Emily Lunnan. But I think it's almost, I was thinking about this earlier, how I feel like since the pandemic, it's almost now just a sort of automatic part of the process that it's going to happen. Although maybe there's motivation. I mean, I'm just putting, this is my spin on it. I don't know if this is what he was thinking or they were thinking. But I think maybe there's motivation to sort of share it with an international audience, especially stateside, because I think all of us have really wanted to share it with the US, especially because it's an American story. And I think that American audiences will appreciate it and hopefully like it. So I think maybe that may have been in the back of their minds, or in the front of their minds. I don't know. But yeah, it's nice that I think that shift has happened, where it's not like you just do a sort of slightly crappy archive recording. Now it's like sort of getting a company in and filming it properly is part of the process, and you can decide afterwards what you might do with that stream, but it's there. And it can be used as, it can be used for the creatives, but it can also be used to share with theatres and producers, and also just audiences that wouldn't have been able to see it otherwise. So, I don't know what their main motivation was, but I'm sure there were lots of, maybe I managed to get some of them.
It felt like the appetite for recording was definitely there, both on our part, but on the producer's part as well. And they'd also had some experience with it deep in the pandemic with recording a new musical called Brother at the Southwark Playhouse. So definitely dipped their toe into the recording as well.
And they did that. Did they did that one live?
That is a good question.
I think it was like live, but I'm trying to remember if
live, but not live.
Yeah, I think it was like a set broadcast time, but it was a pre-record, as far as I know.
Okay,
but I can't. Did they have an audience for that one? Because they had a series of shows, Southwark, where it was filmed like as if it was a performance, but there was no audience.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I think they had like the creatives, and maybe like the director. Yeah, like the creatives, basically. I think. Do you think that Jack? I don't think there was an audience.
This would have been early 2021, so I think it was still lockdown.
We wouldn't have had anything on. yeah, no, it's great. And, we're obviously really pleased that they're keen to film our stuff. We're always pro that.
Were you involved in the editing at all?
I think, yeah, so they sent us a cut, and there was this, I can't remember what the website or the kind of the software is called, but it's something where you can you watch through and you can pause and you can comment on each little thing where you've paused it. So so we were sent an early version of it, and then we all fed in our comments, and then they I guess they edited it, and then we ended up with the version that we've got now. So yeah, I think our input is probably quite small, but it's things like being able to say the camera should be showing this thing here because that's referenced in the things that you might not know unless you're really familiar with the text and the story, and being able to point those out. So yeah, I suppose that was our input.
Definitely, yeah. It's great to have a fantastic first draft from them, but then to be able to single moments out that you probably only know if you're a member of the creative team and had talked about it at length in rehearsals and such.
Just, I remembered a question about the orchestrations that Macy's orchestrations are pre-recorded with the Broadway Sinfonietta.
Yeah.
So how is that? Is it like a click track that gets matched with the live band?
It's a click track, and I feel very sorry for those musicians who have to listen to the click every night. But yeah, so it's a click track, and we have live guitar, keys, and percussion. And yeah, everything else is the pre-record. So it's like a hybrid, which is really cool because you get that fuller sound. But from a producing perspective, there's a kind of more commercially viable way of doing it, but you still get that kind of overall full feel of the orchestration. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool actually.
There was a bit of a mix in the sense that so although it used a click track, it wasn't every song was completely to a click. In some moments, they did allow time for kind of freer band-only stuff. But that just meant Sam had to be really on it with the cues in terms of firing them off then as well when it back into a cue. And yeah, from an audience perspective, sitting in the audience and watching that show, it was seamless. So I think credit to Sam and both the fantastic musicians in the band.
Yeah, it's not easy hearing that click, all the way through. But hey, I don't think they went mad or anything. So
they're used to metronomes. It's fine.
Yeah.
I read a review before I watched the show from someone who had seen it in person, who talked about how seamless that the music was, and that they were surprised that there was a click track because they couldn't tell. And so I thought that was
that's great.
That's really cool.
Yeah, credit to their fantastic work.
Yeah.
What has the reaction been to the film?
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean, I think the best moment for me has been Peter Zeutlin, who is Annie's great grandnephew. He's been very involved and throughout, and we've kind of before this production, I had a really nice sort of chat with him that the producers monitored, and they turned it into an interview for the program. But he's sort of how we found Annie in the first place, because he's written loads about her, and he hasn't, because he's based in the US, he hasn't been able to come over to see the show at all. And so I think watching the stream this time around was sort of, he basically just sent us some really lovely emails, and he just really loved it. And yeah, I mean, that just really meant a lot to us, because he's kind of the only living relative that we know of Annie, and we always want Peter to like the work. And he's probably the person who's most familiar with her story, having done so much research, and he sort of tracked her through different newspapers. That's how he tracked her journey, and seeing where she showed up in different papers. And so he's a real expert. So yeah, to hear his response and that it was so positive was that was a really lovely moment in terms of what the film has made possible. But yeah, I mean, we've had some really lovely tweets. It's just, it's all been super positive, and it's just been really, really lovely to see. Yeah.
I think it would have broken our hearts if he'd had said, what have you done to this story?
He's too nice a man to say that, but hopefully he was being honest.
Yes, but it's so nice that even though we've taken creative freedoms with the story and changed certain details here, it's lovely to see that Peter has done that himself as well. So he's written 2 novels. The first of those, which was Around the World on 2 Wheels, which was a more kind of accurate retelling, but recently he's released a novel called Spin, which is Annie's story again, but a fictionalized version of the account. So he's changed details himself to see his kind of his new version of the story, which is fantastic as well.
Yeah.
It's funny, I found out about it through his website. There's a one-woman show from Canada called Spin.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if that was connected if he connected those 2 things at all.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's just a kind of an irresistible title, given, the play on words and how much she embellished her own story. It's quite magnetic. Maybe we should rename the musical Spin.
Yeah, we didn't end up naming a song after it, but we definitely have a line that uses that pun, because like Freya said, it's hard to avoid it when it's right there in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw on Sarah Meadows' website that the show will be touring the UK in 2023 and coming back to London for another run.
Yeah, although I don't know if that's public, but I guess if it's on her website.
It's on her website.
Yeah, I think that
Sorry, Sarah.
It's very exciting. I mean, we've kind of just we've just had the details about it, and it's only going to one. So it's going to one venue, one regional venue, and then it's coming back to London in the summer. I mean, I've got another terrible clash because I'm having a baby, and it's happening right over that. So, I'm starting to wonder if they're doing this on purpose. But but no, hopefully I'll be able to make it to some of the performances. And last time we met, they were talking about maybe doing like a mother-baby performance, which would be really sweet.
That would be amazing. And congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Oh, that's just so wonderful, but hilarious that it clashes again.
Of course.
I can't believe it. And the plans for a US production, perhaps?
We've heard a couple of things. I don't know if anything's set in stone, but I think that our producers are definitely keen for it to go stateside at some point. And we're definitely we'd love that to happen. I think, I really want to share it with American audiences. So fingers crossed, watch this space. We've heard some whisperings, but nothing confirmed.
Mm-hmm. I actually had a company reach out to me and ask if the licensing was available yet.
Aww.
They were looking for a stream and then asked if it was available to produce, and I was like, I don't know yet, and I sent them to your website.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of theatre groups putting it on and stuff, because it's a two-hander. It's a pretty easy one to mount. So maybe in sometime in the future that would be really lovely if we could do that.
Are there any other future plans for the show?
Well, I guess we're probably gonna see how these next productions go. It's always, I think, new musicals, they're just, if at least over here, it's always a bit of an uphill climb or cycle. If if unless it's sort of an adaptation of a well-known sort of pre-existing thing, or or if there's some kind of major star leading it, it's always, you never quite know if it's gonna hit or how it's gonna go down. So I think our producers will be sort of seeing how this goes and then making decisions from there. But fingers crossed, we keep building that audience and that fan base, and it goes well.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we're taking it one step at a time at the moment, but I'm hoping, as Freya said, that so the US is something we'd be really keen to do, but I'm hoping that at least with the album coming out, there's no kind of geographical impediments on that, so people can listen to that wherever they are in the world. So that should hopefully create a bit of a buzz. We'll see.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to be hitting refresh on Spotify. Watching your tweets like very closely, setting up alerts.
Fantastic.
Do you have another project in the works beyond Ride?
Yeah, we do. We're working on something at the moment, which is it's a commission, and it's sort of a kind of a weird sort of hybrid competition / commission. So it's it started with Adam Lenson and Katie Lipson sort of launching a competition to find a new chamber musical, and we ended up winning along with another writing pair. And so we're now developing this sort of small chamber show as a result of that, and we've had various deadlines, and we've got another deadline coming up in May for the first draft of the show. So yeah, I mean, we actually just had a writing weekend, which I think was really helpful. But yeah, it's quite different to our past work. It's not historical. It's set in the present day, and it's about a relationship between a university professor and a student. And I think they're kind of from a kind of producing perspective, it's all about sort of being a show that's easy to mount. It's kind of like we're trying to write like a new, but I mean not like a derivative, but sort of a new kind of last 5 years type show that people can put on easily. That's also, it's like character focused, but hopefully has some really cracking songs that they can sing to. So yeah, that it's quite fun, and I feel like we made some good headway at the weekend, didn't we, Jack? So that's always positive.
Yeah, it was a productive weekend. And yeah, I won't talk about it too much because I think we chatted a little bit about it on the last podcast as well. So I don't want to repeat too much information. But I'd say it's definitely been an interesting challenge, not having any historical source material to draw on. So it's quite exciting in a way, but also quite scary not to be able to read up on source material in advance.
It's all kind of just coming from us, which is different. I usually kind of hide behind the books for a while.
I was just about to say, if you're like me, you'll be like, oh, I'm just doing some more research before I do the actual writing.
Just a little bit more.
Just one more book.
We're hoping to have some fun twists in there as well, but there's definitely been moments where we insert in the script like, great reveal here, come back to it later and flesh it out.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Oh, that's so fun. Did you go away for your writing retreat?
Just to London. Well, so Jack lives in London, but I don't live in London anymore. So yeah, I traveled to London and we did it there. But a retreat also sounds very good. Maybe we should do that.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations again on Ride. It's truly a phenomenal show. And the more kind of women-led, women-focused stories that we have out there, it's so exciting. And as you were talking about creating new chamber musicals, thinking about how the last 5 years was probably the most produced musical in the world in 2020 to 2022.
Yes, exactly.
Just everyone was producing it. So it's exciting to think that you'll be adding to that canon, and that especially in this economy when people are looking to produce smaller scale shows, that we'll have new content available.
Yeah, I hope so. And I hope that, actors want to do it as well. I think that's one of the things with the last 5 years. Like, I mean, not that I would ever like call myself an actor or even a performer, but I always wanted to do that show. There's just something you're like, oh yeah, those songs. So yeah, I hope people feel a similar way once we've managed to write ours.
Definitely, and hopefully it should be a good option, because obviously the last 5 years is traditionally done with a male and a female. The fact that it's two women or non-binary performers, that will open up the options for smaller theatre groups. Definitely. Yeah, we always find there's
so many women.
Yeah, so many fantastic women, and then sometimes they're stuck doing musicals where there's loads of male parts.
Yeah.
It's something I hear from people doing casting, that they'll get 150 women submitting and like 3 men.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, often the women are just brilliant as well. And you're like, how can I choose?
So much talent out there.
Yeah.
So wonderful. I was debating whether or not to ask you my favorite things again, but I think I will. We can compare
It's
answers and see what's changed.
Yeah, I think it will have changed.
So this is my favorite things, where I ask my favorite questions.
These are a few of my favorite things.
To start off, what is your favorite musical?
This is so hard. This definitely changes. I'm gonna say, even though I haven't listened to it for a while, I got so obsessed with it that I feel like I should say it, and that's Tick Tick Boom. I was so obsessed with the Netflix film. I watched it like 3 times in a row, back to back. And then my husband like found me just like sobbing on the sofa.
I saw it by myself in the cinema, and it was like the one thing I went to the cinema for. And like sitting there, I had to change my mask because it got so wet.
Oh my God. I don't think I could have, I couldn't find it in the cinema, which just tells you everything that you need to know about what's going wrong. But secondly, I think it would have been too much for me. Like, I don't think I could have, even on our really rubbish small TV, I was bawling. So yeah, I'm not sure I could have dealt with a cinematic experience of that film.
I felt very attacked and very seen and very devastated.
Same. I was like, I have said these things.
I think anyone that is a writer or creative or an actor has seen so much of themselves in that film.
And it was just so beautifully done. I mean, I have like the controversial view that it's the best thing Lin-Manuel Miranda's ever done. But yeah, I just thought, you could just, because I think often, well, not often, but sometimes with like movie musicals, you get the feeling that like whoever's behind it in a directing way doesn't necessarily know the form of musicals or movie musicals that well necessarily. Whereas with Lin, I could just tell how much he loved that show and loved Jonathan Larson, and it just really came across. It was such a thoughtful, gorgeous, beautifully directed piece. I just couldn't believe it. And I'd put off watching it because I thought I wouldn't like it. And I just adored it.
And I think the fact that you chose a framing device that elevated the show and really helped it adapt to the film medium. I think if they'd just kind of plopped it on film, just as they did in the stage version, it wouldn't have worked nearly as well. So, and I think whenever you make a change like that, it needs to be done with consideration and care. And I think, he absolutely nailed it.
So good.
I'm going to be boring and say probably the same two that I said last time, Merrily You Roll Along and Little Shop of Horrors. But I love Tick Tick Boom as well. Got to see Strange Loop on Broadway this year, end of last year, which I really loved as well. So excited that that's coming over to the West End.
Yay.
But,
and I just saw Newsies.
Newsies is great.
Newsies right now in London is, I think, the best thing currently that's on in London, and I absolutely loved it. Yeah, it was so exciting.
I really want them. I know they've captured Newsies already. They kept in LA. They filmed the Broadway production in LA, but I desperately want them to film this production because it looks like Newsies on speed.
Really, like it's just the energy. You just can't. It's just such a spectacle, and I was just in awe of those actors and what they were doing. And I think we went on a Saturday, so we went Saturday evening, and it's the second time they've done that in a day. And I was just like, how? Who are these people?
Such a good fit for that space as well. I think traditionally it can sometimes be hard to find a show that fits perfectly there, but it works really well.
Yeah, loved it.
Oh, now I want to do a trip to London.
Come and see it.
I'm overdue. It's been like, when did I move here? It's been 10 years since I was in London. So
wow.
Come over come summer, and then you can see Ride, and you can go see Newsies too.
If I wasn't working at Summer Camp, I'd be there.
damn Summer Camp.
It's not a baby or getting married, but it's a consistent.
It's still very important. Yeah.
What is your favorite filmed live musical?
Oh, it's so tricky. Jack, what do you think?
I'm trying to remember what I said last time.
You don't have to say what you said last time.
I know.
There's been quite a few releases since we last talked.
That's true. I was a massive fan of the Hope Mill production of Rent.
That's what I
that
said
was really good.
last time.
That was geo-blocked. Boo.
Oh yeah, I remember you said that last time as well. Yeah,
Was
that's
it?
very sad.
Oh, that was brilliant. Yeah, I loved that. I loved Romantics Anonymous. Did you see that?
Yes, Wise Children.
Yes,
Yeah,
I loved that.
That was really good.
Yeah.
It was nice to. It's nice that some productions have kept up streaming post-pandemic as well. So it was nice to see Mandela at the Young Vic, which Sam from Ride was also in the band on, and the way they set up that stream was really exciting in the sense that, yeah,
oh my gosh,
7
that was
cameras,
so cool.
and you
Yes,
could choose
I
which one
loved
to
that.
go on. So I think I want to see
That was
much
very
more of that.
cool.
And yeah, conscious that not everyone has the budget for a 7 camera live stream, but yeah, what Young Vic are doing with live streams is very
that
exciting.
was very cool. And also I I text Sam saying that I was watching and he waved at me and I was like, it's on camera.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
I was switching between like watching all 7 and then the conductor cam and then the wide shot and then all 7 again. It was really fun to switch.
It was, yeah, it's very cool. I love that actually.
Yeah.
You feel like you're playing God a bit.
All right, you've had about like a year and a half to think about it. A filmed live musical is not exactly a stage show and it's not exactly a film, so what should we call them?
Oh no. We failed at this spectacularly last time. And I don't think we've got anything better to add. Come on, Jack, think of a pun.
I've got nothing. I'm trying to remember your bad pun from last time.
It's terrible. Something like
you have a deadline. You've got a 30-second deadline.
It is a problem because it's yeah, and there's often people are like, well, it's not live, but it's also it was live, but it's not live, and what is live, and yeah, I live after live. Live after live. I don't know. Maybe come back to me.
What is the best suggestion that you've heard from a guest on this one?
Yes.
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
We've thrown it
Capture, flimsicle, transmission.
Wow.
Digitally immersive theatrical experience.
Wow.
Those are all very good. I don't think we can add anything useful to the canon on that.
Yeah, we clearly shouldn't be in marketing.
Where do you stand on bootlegs?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love a bootleg. I know it's wrong, but also I just think there's something. I think maybe I might be repeating myself, but did I talk about? I'm just thinking about what the timings would have been like. But for me, like one of the most sort of significant bootleg experiences was watching The Prom, which obviously hasn't come over here. And I didn't see it on Broadway. And my first experience of it was the film on Netflix. And then I watched the bootleg and I just loved the bootleg so much more than the film. And so
the feelings I had that they didn't film that on stage. I got to see it on stage and it was like one of the funnest, most energetic, joyous experiences I've ever had in the theater. And I was so mad.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I obviously you don't get the level of like the quality from the bootleg, but I really picked up that energy versus the Netflix film. And I mean, mainly James Corden was just annoying me, but but yeah, I think that it's a tricky thing because it's obviously, in terms of producers, sometimes producers like having bootlegs out there and they leave them out there as well. It can be like a tactical thing, but it's not great in terms of making money for the show all the time. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like growing up, well, not even growing up, but like maybe, being like a teenager and then like a young adult, just bootlegs, I feel like they played quite an important role. Yeah. And now it's slime tutorials.
I think it's definitely worth acknowledging that many people get their initiation into musical theatre or theatre generally through bootlegs, because they might live in an area where there's not that same exposure to theatre, or cost might be a limitation there, and that might be some of the only way that people are able to access that material. So I think in situations where people don't have a choice between, like, it's not a choice between a bootleg and going to see the theatre, I think you can't. What am I trying to say? I think there's real value there, essentially, and I think it's very rare the case where people will say, "Oh, I've seen this on bootleg, therefore I'm not going to support the live show." I think it's probably the opposite. It's probably, I've really enjoyed the bootleg of this, I'd love to see it live too if I get the chance.
But yeah, it is tricky.
It is, but great answers. What stage musicals do you wish had been filmed?
Yeah, well, we were just talking about the prom, so yeah, definitely that. I mean, I suppose, for us, it's kind of, it'll often be like a Broadway thing that hasn't come over, or just something that we haven't had access to. But I mean, they are sort of coming over. And then there's sort of particular productions that sort of stay with you. And for instance, like I went to see In the Heights at Southwark Playhouse many, many, many times. And I don't think there's a stream of that.
No, I don't think so. I think there's like a few live recordings they did for kind of West End Live and on TV shows, but nothing of the whole thing.
Yes, and did you say that they've done a recording of Newsies? Because I will definitely watch that.
Oh yes, it's on Disney Plus with most of the original cast. That's
the Broadway one. Do you know? But have they done are they doing a London one? Do we know?
I haven't heard.
Not that I know of.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, I would be amazing. That would be very exciting to me.
Yeah, I'd love that.
For something high profile like that, to get 2 recordings would be really awesome.
Yeah,
but we have a bazillion JCSs, so why not a billion Newsies?
Yeah, exactly. I'd watch them all. And then I guess like also things that have like really checkered histories would be, I feel like there is some kind of terrible dodgy bootleg, or at least clips of like the very first production of Merrily We Roll Along. But it would be great to have like a proper filmed version of that, just to see what it was like, when you have these stories about shows that closed after like however many performances. And I think those kind of sort of like legends from the archive, it would be great to be able to sort of go through those and see what went wrong or what didn't go wrong, and maybe it was just a review that closed the show or something. But that kind of stuff that is just sort of part of musical theatre history, but we can't really relive it. That would be great to be able to see.
Particularly because the Fantastic Revival was filmed, it'd be so easy then to kind of compare and contrast and really break down what makes the show work or not work in different settings. In that vein, I would absolutely love a pro shot of the American version of that production now, which has the same director, but obviously Broadway greats is in the cast, and Daniel Radcliffe as well. Really exciting. It'd be interesting to see how that has evolved, even though it's kind of the same production with quite a gap in between, and how it works with American audiences as well. I think we might have said this previously, but any Sondheim original cast would be amazing. I think it's so great to have the Sending Apart with George and Into the Woods pro shots. I think it'd be amazing to see an Assassins one, or Pacific Overtures, or Passion.
Pacific Overtures was filmed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'll send you a link.
Ooh,
there you go. Look at that.
It was filmed for Japanese television.
Oh, wow.
Used as like a tourism ploy.
Oh, amazing.
And it's because the rights are in a kind of weird limbo, like who owns the rights to the film. And so it's been on YouTube for a long time, and it's grainy, but you can see the production. It's amazing.
It's very cool.
That's really
there
cool.
We go.
So was that only ever released in Japan then, not officially?
I believe so. Yeah, I don't think it was ever released here, just on Japanese television.
I will. Yes, please do share the link. I'd be very interested in seeing that.
I will. Also in the database. And there's also, I don't know if you've seen the Lonnie Price documentary, The Best Worst Thing That Ever Happened.
Yeah, really
Marilyn
good.
So good.
I think annoyingly they might have taken it off Netflix recently-ish, but yeah, I think we both caught it before they did, and it's
So
amazing
good.
to see the clips that they do have. Of the show and the rehearsals. Yes.
That's what the one frustrating part about digital stuff is, that the way it disappears, and it's not, whoever owns it has it, but it's not available in a way that DVDs and VHSs were.
Definitely.
Definitely.
I've got one more actually.
Sure.
After reading Song of Spider-Man, I would really love to see the original version of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Such a good book.
Yeah, it'd be so interesting.
Oh my gosh. Who boy. What would you like to see filmed in the future?
Well, I already said Newsies, but definitely that. What else is there? What are we excited about, Jack?
Another show that I was able to catch on Broadway, and I don't think they have done it, but it would have been amazing if they did, or if he comes back. Alex Brightman in the role of Beetlejuice on Broadway. I think he does such a fantastic job in that role, and it'd be really interesting to see if it does transfer, whether they get him back or whether they replace him, because I think I read something like the reason he's able to do the voice, essentially the Beetlejuice voice, and not wreck his throat, is because he has some kind of like vocal fold mutation, which allows him to do that without any pain. Like your average singer can't really do that without wrecking their voice. So and I think he really made that show for me. So to document that in some way, I think that the album does a good job of it, and they actually do a lot of work in terms of making it quite special as an album experience, in terms of changing some of the lines within as well. But yeah, I think that would be a good modern show to film.
Yeah, I'd quite like to see the current version of Parade as well. I don't think I'm going to be heading to New York anytime soon, so it'd be great to get a pro shot of that. Well,
Jason Robert Brown has had things filmed in the past, so maybe
interesting.
we can have a word. Speaking of the last 5 years. Finally, where can we find you online?
Oh yeah, so on Twitter we have our individual handles. So mine is Freya with 2 Fs, FFREYA Smith, and I can never remember Jack's, which is why I never tag him in anything. Sorry, Jack.
Mine is Jack at Jack RB Williams, and our joint one is at We Are Bottle Cap.
Yes,
for Bottle Cap Theatre.
And what's our website?
Our website is www.bottlecaptheatre.com.
Yes, that's about it. We're not like we're not massively on our socials, are we?
You can follow. We don't run it. There's much more capable people who do, but Ride _musical on Twitter as well.
Yes, on Twitter.
I think it's the same on Instagram as well.
And on Instagram, yes.
Not embracing TikTok? Composer TikTok?
I kind of tried. I mean, I am actually a bit of a TikTok addict. It's not good, but yeah, I mean, I think our producers definitely want to do some stuff with the album when it's out. So yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely up for it, but at the same time, I sort of feel a bit like a granny on that app.
I feel your pain.
Yeah. But it's very addictive, and I do think a lot of like really creative things come out of it as well. It's kind of my favorite in terms of content creation. I think some of the stuff that people are doing is actually really, really impressive on TikTok.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, lots of really good music stuff. You do get a lot of like good original composition stuff kind of coming out.
The collaboration stuff is really cool as well, when someone lays down a musical hook and you just see other people
they just come on in and add a load of harmonies or whatever. Really love that stuff.
And that's how we found Macy originally, that she
true.
orchestrated the Ratatouille charity concert.
Yeah, that's how we found her.
Yeah, I think the orchestrations were such a brilliant element of that in terms of elevating the music.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And audiences at home, you can watch Ride, a new musical on Broadway on demand, and we'll have links to all of that in the show notes. Freya and Jack, thank you so much again for your time. I just love chatting with you, and I'm super excited to see where Ride goes next.
You too. Thank you so much for having us back, and also for your support of the show.
Thanks, Louisa. Appreciate it.
Amazing. Yeah.
The Filmed Live Musicals podcast is created and edited by your host, Luisa Lyons. FilmedLiveMusicals.com is where musicals come home. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Shout out and all the thank yous to our wonderful patrons: Josh Brandon, Geraldine Brewer, Belinda Broido, Andy Capone, Elliot Charles, Rachel Esteban, Mercedes Esteban Lyons, Hannah Graneman, James T. Lane, Alison Matthews, Al Monaco, David Negrin, Jesse Rabinowitz and Brenda Goodman, David and Catrin Rabinowitz, Joe Tilliston, and Beck Twist. Patrons generously provide financial support to preserve the history of film stage musicals and the creation of one easy place to find them all. If you would like to support the site, receive early access to this very podcast, and early access to site content, become a Filmed Live Musicals patron for as little as $3 a month. Visit filmedlivemusicals.com to learn more. If you like what you hear, please leave a review on Apple Music. It really helps to get the word out about the show. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks for listening.